Thank you, Mr. Don. Your enthusiasm is very infectious and you speak from the heart without any formalities, and that's always very pleasant to hear. Power sector has always been complex. It will always be complex. And I'm not surprised that 10 years since the Act was framed, things have not settled. I'm sure when the Britishers made the IPC, it would have taken maybe 40 years to settle. A husband must be coming to the police station and feeling surprised why it is a criminal offense if I beat up my wife. Because for centuries people had beaten up their wives and suddenly it was made an offense. So there are things which human psyche accepts very slowly. Simultaneously, conflict is always useful because things don't move forward, things don't change unless conflict is there. If there is no conflict, we'll be stagnant. So a healthy conflict is always desirable. When we think of open access, these two words in it, open and access, they remind me of a cave. I frequently roam in the interior mountains in Kinnaur, Lahaul Spiti, Ladakh, Tibet, and we see a lot of caves there. A cave never has a door, it's always open. There is no sentry at the cave, it is always accessible. But when we stand at the mouth of a cave, we never know what is inside it. It is open, it is accessible, and it is dark, both. And that is what open access has turned out to be, the dark interior of an open, accessible cave. And it's the job of all of us to maintain that openness and accessibility and then throw some light inside to make things visible. I've also seen that no cave is straight, it branches. Whenever you enter a cave, there will be something going to the left, something going to the right, and if you are not careful, you may never be able to come out. That's what's happening here also. People have entered the dark cave without enough light, and people are getting lost. And maybe we need rescue teams also, as we do in the mountain caves. A lot of things are happening as knee-jerk reactions. A lot of things are happening without discussion, debate. In fact, I feel very surprised. This year I am holding the second tariff hearing of my tenure as regulator. Last year also, this year also. I was wondering why the power producers do not come to tariff hearings. Not one had come, not IPPI had come. Nobody had represented the power producers' view before us during tariff hearing. What is the reason? You think it is meaningless? Maybe there is a cynicism that tariff hearings are mere formality. It is the government which decides how much tariff is to be increased, how it is to be distributed across consumers. So there is no point in wasting your time. But even if that presumption is true, let's say for argument that presumption is true, even then, won't a dialogue matter? Won't sharing views matter? I leave it to you to consider that why should the power producers and the IPPI not participate in tariff hearings, not only in Haryana but in all the states. I think it will be very important, even for the regulator, because we are deprived of your views, and then the cave remains dark for us also. Let's take the question of this 1 megawatt policy for a moment. To my knowledge, this policy was issued without much debate or discussion. at one of the conferences held by IPPI, I read out a line from the foreword of the Planning Commission document on the subject. And that foreword was signed by none less than Mr. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, where the objective of this policy was perhaps inadvertently written. They never intended to write it, but somebody else drafted it and the person signed it without reading it perhaps. And the objective was that with this measure, the power producers will be able to sell power to more credit-worthy consumers. This is precisely the line written. While from the rooftops, the Government of India and the Planning Commission have been shouting that this policy was designed for the consumer and to improve the health of the DISCOM. But Mr. Ahluwalia says in the preface that this is to enable the power producers to sell power to more credit-worthy consumers. No harm in that. I am totally mercantile in my approach. We should work for profits, and we should define what is profit. Is profit now profit, or is profit tomorrow profit, or is profit in the long run profit? We should define profit intelligently and work for profit. Being selfish is part of the Darwinian concept. Selfishness is always good, provided you intelligently define your self-interest. You define it properly, it will be good for future generations. You define it improperly, it will be bad for future generations. That's the only difference. Now, till today, I have no view before me from any industrial consumer or commercial consumer as to whether they are in favor of this proposal of Government of India or they are against it. In none of the tariff hearings, neither of the tariff hearings last year or this year, any consumer group, any association has told me whether if tomorrow Haryana Regulatory Commission decides to adopt that policy of making 1 megawatt and above consumers mandatory open access consumers and taking them out of the ambit of the DISCOM and the regulatory regime, whether they like it or they dislike it. Nobody has told me. I'm amazed you people deal with such large numbers. We are people with a salary below 6 figures perhaps, and you deal with 9 figures. And I don't get the views. We keep waiting. I have been regularly holding the meeting of the State Advisory Committee. Earlier, I believe it was not so regular. Every 6 months, we hold it. I discussed it with the Chairman APTEL, and he has promised that at the next meeting of the State Advisory Committee, the APTEL Chairman and his members will also come. And we call all the stakeholders. These are the things which we want to hear from you. What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? But you're not getting it. To my mind, if we implement this 1 megawatt policy and say that thereafter these large consumers will buy power only at negotiated rate, even from DISCOM at negotiated rate, in a situation of shortage, the negotiation will be between predator and prey, to be very blunt. You throw a man into the tiger's cage and ask him to negotiate with him as to what price he will take for not eating him. If that negotiation is fair, this will also be fair. As long as there is shortage, there is no negotiation fair between buyer and seller. Only with adequate supply you could have sensible negotiations. But then that is my view. It should be unimportant. The view of the producer and the consumer should be important, and that is the view we are waiting for. Whether the producers support this policy, whether the consumers support this policy, who are opposed to it, why are they opposed to it, do they want modification to this policy? Again, to my mind, in my humble opinion, in this given situation of shortage, total open access for any consumer, taking him completely out of the regulatory regime and making him dependent on negotiated purchase is impractical. It will be detrimental to industry. What is detrimental to industry is detrimental to the country. The country prospers with GDP and taxes, and a bulk of them come from industries. Our GDP will be affected, our taxes will be affected. Simultaneously, we have to see what are the concerns of the DISCOM. Why are DISCOMs behaving in this funny way? They are behaving in a funny way. There's no doubt about it. Right from beginning, I was in power sector as principal secretary. Rajasthan was the first state to pass an order that open access will not be allowed because the state is power short and will not allow any power to go out of the state. They issued that order right in the beginning. Haryana was the first state to say that there is a power shortage, therefore we will not levy cross-subsidy surcharge. I issued that order. So, though the governments and the DISCOMs have been acting in a funny way, they have their reasons, and we should look into their reasons, why they are behaving. Even if a child behaves funnily, it is not without reason. Any child psychologist will tell you that behind every apparently irrational behavior of a child, there is a logic, there is a rational, there is a reason. You buy power through power exchange. At 5 p.m., you come to know, tomorrow from this hour to this hour for 3 hours, I'll get this power. And you inform the power company that 8 hours from now for 3 hours, I will not need your power. What does the MD of the DISCOM do? He has contracted his power. How does he plan his power purchase? If you give him such short notice, because from the power exchange, short-term power you will get only in the evening. Ultimately, the bid will be finalized in the evening. So you have a problem, but the MD also has a problem. How does he plan his power? So I think this very short-term purchase does not fit into the open access regime. It does not. You can draw that power over and above your contracted power, but within the contracted power, if you give him 8 hours notice, he has a problem. Now, MD's problem is your problem too. I have been noticing during the last 2.5 months since this grid failure, the average frequency has been very high. On certain days, the average frequency has been above 50, 50.02, 50.03. One day it was 50.05 also. The DISCOMs, by virtue of over-caution, have been underdrawing up to 30 lakh units per day, underdrawing at 40 to 50 paisa per day, which means they are losing about 1 crore of rupees every day because of this underdraw. On top of that, a short-term power purchaser from open access tells him, I don't need this power. That underdraw will go up. That loss will be ultimately translated by the commission into your tariff. Nothing will happen to that loss. It will be translated at the end of the year into your tariff. Everybody will pay more. So I think short-term open access will not work. What is the time period within which the MD can plan his power purchase, modulate his power purchase? That has to be discussed. This is what we want to hear from you. You should convince yourself, step into the shoes of MD and MD should step into your shoes. And then we should decide. What is happening is you speak only your part and MD speaks only his part. And we have to step into two shoes, and in the process, like a man riding in the boat, we may also go down when you ride two boats. So let us know what is a reasonable notice period for open access. Secondly, 100% open access, as I said, is not workable. Partial open access is certainly workable. You can make your judgment. Okay, for 10% of your power, I am going out. You reduce my load by 10%. I'll buy 90% from you, 10% I'll access from anywhere. For all times to come, if this is done, I've already told some people who had come to me, we'll certainly accept that. 10%, 20%. Let it be predictable. An open access system will result in greater harm if predictability is not there. Make it predictable to the DISCOM. If you make it predictable, we'll see to it that the DISCOM does not create any hurdle. But if you make it unpredictable, it will cause additional losses which will ultimately fall on the consumers and will not be very happy either about it. A mention was made about the choice of the consumer. Choices are all very good. In fact, the very definition of economics is that it is about alternatives. If there are no alternatives, there is no economics involved. The subject of economics comes up because there are alternatives. Otherwise, there will be no economics at all if there are no alternatives. So he said that I can choose which airline to fly. Yes, certainly. But what if the airport is closed? Do you have a choice then? You have 10 airlines, you can choose, and the airport is closed. So when you have a choice of power suppliers and the grid is down, what happens? Your aeroplane will take you to some other airport and dump you there because it cannot land here. A situation in which the lines are not open 24 hours a day, in which that switch is turned up and down, the choice becomes meaningless. The first choice should be that the system will be open. It will always remain open. The second choice, of course, will be that there is some redundancy in the system. We may talk of all this in a situation of shortage and will never come to a sensible conclusion. At least I believe that. Look at the countries which have good open access, which have stable systems. How much redundancy they are keeping? Are we comfortable with redundancy? Redundancy means additional cost per unit. There is an additional cost per unit. Are we comfortable with it? Today, when the systems are being backed down, not because there is enough power, but to keep the frequency right, because the High Court has said something, I'll call the Chief Secretary, I'll do this, I'll do that. So people are ensuring that the frequency doesn't get disturbed and keeping very high frequency. So they shut down areas, they back down generators and do all kinds of things, and that is all adding to the cost. We'll have a tough time this year calculating the cost of all the back down generators. But this is done all over the world. Redundancy is part of the game, and cost of redundancy is also part of the game. Are we psychologically prepared to pay the cost of redundancy to have a stable, continuously flowing system? We have to decide for ourselves. One thing I cannot understand, I have worked in various departments in the government, including power sector. There is something called the Indian Arbitration Act. While framing the Electricity Act, did they forget about arbitration? All disputes have to come up before a body for adjudication. But in the rest of your contracts, you have, I am sure all of you will have an arbitration clause. Why we don't have that here? Why should all disputes be placed before the commission and adjudicated upon? Which is an expensive and perhaps longer procedure. Should there be a demand from consumers or producers for a provision for arbitration? Mind you, the Electricity Act is in the process of being revised. In fact, we have also been asked to give our suggestions for amendments to that. You may consider whether sooner or later you will have open access, you will be dealing with multiple suppliers, suppliers will be dealing with multiple consumers, there will be disputes. Should all disputes go for adjudication, or should some disputes by very nature of the agreement that the two parties have signed, go for an arbitration and be settled there. That is one thing we must consider. We have forgotten it somewhere down the line. Another thing which to my mind can solve a lot of problems is if we separate the supply and wire business. All these problems which are created by DISCOMs, they come up because they are holding the wires and they are holding the supply. If the wires and supply were held by different people, a lot of these problems will not come. In fact, our commission suggested to the government that you have a lot of losses in certain towns. Leave aside the villages, because when we talk of losses, everyone starts talking of rural area. In rural area, the DISCOM hardly loses any money because all the difference is supplied by the government as subsidy. They get full tariff. The commission earlier used to give a subsidized tariff in the tariff order. But last year we decided that we'll give full agriculture tariff in the tariff order. It is for the government to subsidize it. From our side, full tariff is to be given. So Haryana Agriculture now gives full tariff to the DISCOM. Who gives it is a different matter. But in the urban areas, in certain towns, the losses are very, very high. So we suggested to the government that in these towns, you privatize. So the issue was of employees, that employees will have to be retrenched. So we said most of the employees are on the wire business. There are very few employees on the supply business. So you separate the wire and supply business in these towns and privatize the supply business. Let the wire business remain with the DISCOM in these towns and supply be privatized. But again, they had some things. So the commission has taken upon itself. We are in the process of formulating an advertisement for inviting applications for giving license for supply business in a few towns where the losses are very high. And obviously the selection will be on the basis of loss reduction trajectory. So I think a lot of your problems of open access will also be solved if wire and supply business are separated. And that is one thing you should consider, and if you think it is useful for you, you should demand it. Unfortunately, I am very used to blunt talking and some people don't like it. I hear a lot of generalities in the tariff hearing. I hear very few specifics. And that is what my request to all the generators and the consumers are. Come to the tariff hearing, say some specifics, and we'll certainly consider them. These are the points I wish to make, and as the discussion proceeds, whatever I can contribute, I'll be happy to contribute.